this is Hemant Karandikar welcoming you to the fourth episode of the ProductDossier Podcast. This podcast is having conversations about leadership, people and technology for project businesses. Today we are going to talk on the missing piece in the enterprise software landscape for IT services companies. IT services companies provide complex technology solutions like application implementation, infrastructure management, security and data protection to their clients. With multiple projects deploying hundreds or thousands of knowledge workers, their own operations are complex and challenging. They use various enterprise software packages to manage their operations. This industry is several decades old, so one can say that their enterprise software space is quite mature. But is it so? Today we are going to examine this subject and find if there is any missing piece and what is that. To give us a helicopter view and also a below the radar view of the landscape, we have with us Sandeep Kumar, founder and CEO of ProductDossier Solutions. Sandeep has been an insider in the IT services industry, but as an innovator and entrepreneur, he has built up an enterprise software product company that serves the industry. Sandeep thus has both perspectives inside out and outside in. I am excited to have Sandeep with us. Welcome Sandeep to this podcast.
Thank you, Hemant. Thank you for having me.
Sandeep, can you give us a quick overview of the enterprise software packages that IT companies typically use for their operations?
Sure. So if you look at a little bit of a history of IT services, right? So before IT services came, the manufacturing industry was there. So they were using ERPs and all. And as IT industry or IT companies, they were scaling up and they were becoming larger. So they needed a software, to do their financial transactions and all those things. So the very first software or the package, as you are calling it, they used is the ERPs. Now, these ERPs were not really made for the services industry. They were made for the manufacturing industry, like the SAPs or the Oracles of the world. But then they saw an opportunity in the IT industry. So they sort of force fit their ERPs into the IT industry. So that is one side. So the very first softwares, the smaller ones, used accounting softwares like Tally or QuickBooks of the world, and the larger ones are using the ERP. That is on the financial transaction. Then on the customer facing side, the Salesforce and the CRM softwares have been there for quite some time. And so on the customer facing side, these IT industry has now are using one or the other CRM softwares like Salesforce, HubSpot, or the local ones. So these two, the CRM and the ERP, are sort of well established. They know how to use it. They are seeing certain value out of it. Besides that, they have also sort of using HR technology, right, to manage their employee master, their performance appraisals, or even sort of absence management. So that's another category of software, the HR piece, which is there. And having said that, now where actually their projects, where their business gets executed, they really don't have any very, so to say, sophisticated softwares there or well-established softwares like CRM and ERP, right? So what these software companies have done, because they themselves are programmers and they think they can code everything, so they have built some sort of a homegrown utilities to do portion of this in isolation, and then they're heavily relying on the Excel sheets as well. So today landscape of these IT services company, I would say CRM on the left hand side, ERP and HR on the right hand side, and then this homegrown utilities or the Excels where they actually execute their business.
Or perhaps the project management software.
Okay, good point. So the likes of Jira and all, so this also has been in use for their, actual execution of their tickets or tasks and things like that. So it is, as I said, these are more team driven rather than organization driven. While there is CRM and the ERPs are at the org level, everybody uses it for every transaction. But these Jiras and all, sometimes they are driven by the customer for one team. So they are more not really at an enterprise level, but more at a team's level. But that is also being used. You are right.
So there are all kinds of, let's say, smaller business processes are getting automated. That probably leaves out many end-to-end kind of workflows. Is that the kind of situation in IT service companies?
Absolutely. As I said, that they have these islands, CRM, ERP, and then the Jira. But if you really start looking at what are the challenges, or what is the aspiration, or what is the drivers or KPIs of the IT services, this is to improve the top line, to improve the resource utilization, improve profitability, and how do I improve the employee engagement and all those things, and the customer satisfaction. So these sort of KPIs, the current systems, one of the key challenges that, first of all, there is no single version of truth. These systems itself, they are not really talking to each other in real time basis. And also, a lot of processes are not digitized yet. It is still like managed via email or phone calls. For example, collaboration at the time of estimation between sales and delivery, it's a broken process. So that is managed through emails. Now, another process, for example, billing. Today, there is timesheets are filled somewhere else, and then this data is compiled in Excel sheets, and then somebody sits in front of the ERP and comes out with the invoicing and all. So a lot of such processes are broken. The reason for that is, while they have digitized the left and the right, in the center where they actually execute their business, as I said, they have not really implemented any standard technology platform. They have just used their own homegrown utilities, and this is a real problem, because this is their own baby, and sometimes they think that they don't have a problem, and everything is working fine, but they are losing out on a lot of these benefits which a standard technology can bring.
Day to day, the so-called purely operational issue of allocating resources.
Absolutely.
Probably that also is.
Yes, absolutely. That's a completely Excel-driven phenomena today. And you wouldn't believe, we would think that, large organizations in IT services space would have everything automated, and they would be, but the larger the company, the more manual activities you will find. So all like resource utilization, which is actually directly linked to the top line, this is a very manual process, and the outcome of that is that on one hand they have a billing loss, and the other hand they have a bench, and they both don't know each other, and because of which the organization is suffering.
What kind of a managerial overload this causes?
A lot, actually. There are two issues here. One is the manager is really not empowered to do what he is supposed to do. In one of our earlier discussions, we talked about manager as the CEO of the project, right? So he is not empowered. He doesn't know what are my financial targets. And another challenge here is manager is working like a data worker. He is spending almost 70% of his or her time compiling the data, which ideally should be generated on a click of a button. And you can imagine that the manager takes a week to compile data, and then by the time he or she is done, there is a new data available. So what you have is a stale data. So this is a big challenge. In fact, there was a survey which said that today engineers are spending 70% of their time data collection, and this leaves them with only 30% for the real work they have been hired.
And all data is within the company.
All data is within the company. All data is within the, and forget about the insights. We have not even talking about that, but it's a big problem.
And then, if I go by whatever I hear from my contacts, friends, acquaintances, who is normally one person, one manager brings data, and other people contest it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is a, it's such a real thing you are talking about. When a meeting starts, somebody pops up their Excel, which shows some number, and within 30 seconds, another person stands up and say, I think there is a problem in this data because what I have on my Excel is very different. And then the whole meeting, takes a very different direction. They are now contesting whose data is more correct. Both of them may be having a wrong data, but they are contesting who is more correct. So
These are
absolutely.
simple. I say simple because they are very obvious to a third person, to somebody who is taking a bit distant view of what is it. But are there any other issues that, let's say, customers' expectations, employee expectations, that also are remaining difficult to fulfill because of the operational constraints?
Yeah, many. One of the, like, from a customer perspective, if you see, a customer is always expecting that the right skill people are allocated to their projects. Today, the RMG in the organization, their whole focus is how do I fulfill a position, not necessarily with the right skills. So sometimes this leaves a customer with a low skill person on a high skill job, and they become dissatisfied. Second, project customers also expect their suppliers or service providers to manage the projects in a very meaningful manner with a high governance, and this will directly impact the quality of their deliverables. But in the absence of any consolidated systems, this becomes a challenge. It requires really a heroic effort from the project manager, which is really not sustainable, and it does not. So that is from a customer side. From a employee side, employees also wanting to get meaningful engagement with the projects and everybody. Uh, Companies say that there is a job rotation policy, but today HR, they don't have data to act on that job rotation policy. So only when the employee puts in the resignation, he is offered a different project. So I think, and also the learning, skills development, there is no real data or a very systemic way to do this learning and development of as an individual. And also, employee, from an employee perspective, when employee is being appraised, it is more the perception of the manager, right? And it's not really data driven. Whether I am performing at 120% or 80%, in the end, both these individuals are always given a similar treatment because of the lack of this data which should be collected on a daily basis. So I think a lot is required from customer as well as from an employee perspective.
So you have summarized the challenges. So what is the way out? What is the solution for this?
I think the way, definitely, it's a little bit of a journey. When we say we want to digitize, we want to put in a. And the irony is, these are the guys who are actually taking up millions of dollars of project to digitize their customer, but their own house is in a little bit of a mess. So the first step to the solution is, we have to little bit take a step backward and see what is really required. If you see, in a services company, there are three key elements which is, in their business. One is the project financials, the other one is the resource management, and the third piece is the project delivery. Now these three are very integrated. The moment you start going deep into the subject, that there is a bill rate, there is a, the financial element, then financials are dependent on the delivery, how you deliver, and all of these are dependent on what resources you hire. So they today organizations, as I said, they have built something on their own. And these three things are not talking to each other. And because of which I may be very happy that, I may have a very good contracts from the customer. But on the other hand, are the resources being allocated to that? Or is it being delivered on time? So these things have to be integrated. So the solution in my mind is they have to step back, really look at their process and see how do I bring in the capability for managing my delivery, financials and resources in an integrated fashion. So today, there are ways in which you can do that. And because we are into similar kind of thing, we work with customers. And once you do that, the results are absolutely amazing.
So is it a new kind of a solution that you're talking about?
It's definitely, as I said, it's not really new. Everybody knows that, these are the things, and they probably, they have been working in for a decade or more than a decade. So they know all these things. But there is a new category of solution called PSA, Professional Services Automation. So what it does is it combines the project management or the project delivery, project financials, which is fairly new because, as I said earlier, the financials means what SAP provides or what Oracle provide, and they were more tailor-made for manufacturing industry. So project financials, and very importantly, this resource management, which will help us to improve our resource utilization, improve project profitability, and improve our governance, delivery, and customer satisfaction.
Going forward, IT industry serves manufacturing and a lot of other sectors, healthcare and all that. The customer segment themselves are undergoing a big change, transformations. And many of them are digitizing, many of them are taking to artificial intelligence and all that. Does that mean the challenges to IT services industries are also changing?
Absolutely.
And in what way?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, today what is changing is the business models themselves are changing. So earlier you would see a lot of T&M, even today it is. But then fixed price model came into picture. Today there are a lot of outcome based models which are coming into the picture. So IT organizations have to sort of reinvent their systems and their way of thinking. And also, while this agile thinking, agile action, because today there could be ramp up, ramp down from the customers fairly quickly. So we have to strengthen our processes that we are able to sort of respond to these changes rather than react to it. And so in that sense, yes, the systems which we are building have to have that flexibility and sort of comprehensiveness that I can change them without much effort and time to respond to the changing customer needs. And the second thing is the emerging tech you talked of, AI, ML, NLP and all those things. I think while the IT services company, I mean, they obviously know about it, they are doing it for their customers. It becomes very important to use it for themselves as well. Today, to predict, like for example, that what is my revenue forecast over the next few months, and how it is getting impacted by the people I am hiring or attrition. So there can be a fair amount of AI which can be used in either it's a revenue forecast or profitability prediction, or what are the risks which may come up in the next 3 months, people risk, customer risk, financial risk, and all those things. So there is IT industry can certainly basically use this emerging tech for their own operations.
Does it also mean that the speed of making decisions by the managers is going to be more and more important?
Absolutely. So the speed, and more than the speed, the decision at the right time. right? And for them to be able to make right decisions, we have to do two things. One, we have to free up their time for data analysis rather than data compilation. Today, I'll give you an example, and this is a situation in every IT company. Every IT company, regardless of the size, the last 10 days of any month and the first 10 days of the next month, project managers are spending their time in just data compilation for billing purpose. Which resource has filled how many hours and against which bill rate, whether it's correct, not correct. And this is, I've seen, and in spite of having the SAPs and the Oracles of the world. So they just don't have time to even figure out that, do some what if analysis, that if I change this person to this project or to this people to this project, can they improve the profitability of the project? They just don't have time because they are always running on that timelines that you have to give the compiled data.
So they will have less time to have a nice chat with their team members.
Absolutely.
And to find out if any problem is there or anything a team
Absolutely.
member requires or anything like that.
Absolutely.
So which is their core job.
Which is their core job, and they have all the data. So if we can give them a platform which can do all these mundane jobs or the routine jobs on a click of a button, and then give them nice analytics, the trends, in which they can identify that this month my billing is going to be less because 20% of my resources are on the leave or on vacation. And if they can start seeing this information proactively, then they can bring in other resources for that duration, and I can avoid my billing loss. So, and we have seen today industry talks of a term called DSO. DSO is daily sales outstanding, that after you do the billing, how long does it take to get the collection, right? But industry doesn't talk of effective DSO. The 10 days which I spend in compiling data, and that too, those are lost. And that too, I have seen there is so much back and forth between the customer and the company for the incorrect invoices.
Right.
So I think there is a lot, and these are not rocket science solutions.
Absolutely.
These are simple solutions, but the biggest problem I see with the decision makers today is that acknowledgement that we have a problem. They think,
we have grown so much and we have succeeded.
Yes,
so
yes. That's
everything must be fine.
Yeah, that's the attitude that, look, I am running a multi-million-dollar business. I am digitizing the who is who of the world.
Yeah.
Obviously my house is in order. I can't have challenges.
So it is time to tell the doctor, heal thyself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And PSA is that medicine.
I believe so. It's a very logically fitting between the CRM and the ERP, and if implemented right in a phase-wise manner, this can really create exponential and sustainable value creation.
This indeed a very enlightening talk, Sandeep. You have given us an overview of the industry, what kind of application software are being used. You also talked about real day-to-day operational problems that the managers face, that the managers spend more time in data compilation, data gathering, than making decisions, analyzing and making decisions. And they have probably not enough time to talk to their people about teamwork, about their mentoring them, about improving their work, and about seeing their expectations. And PSA is a good solution, and I hope that the IT industry looks at itself, like you said, take a distant view, slightly step back and see what is going on, because a lot rides on IT services industry. The end customers of IT industry like manufacturing, healthcare, insurance, banking and finance, and all this, they depend on IT services to improve their operations. So economy in general has a lot to gain or lose if IT companies do not, pick up the slack, so to speak.
Absolutely. We have to keep them healthy.
Yes. So thank you, Sandeep, for throwing shedding important light and giving insights on this complex subject. And thank you, listeners, for joining in today. And I hope you like today's discussion. Do write to us at sales@productdossier.com. See you again. Goodbye.